S-chip. You were actually down in my neck of the woods in Cherry Hill not too long ago, talking about the boycott of the S-chip down on Capitol Hill. And I'm wondering if the impending burden that that's going to place on us might sort of ironically lead us more towards like universal health care here in New Jersey, kind of like they have in Massachusetts, for example.
First of all, they haven't implemented their program in Massachusetts, and it is yet to be seen whether they can afford the program they've laid down. We have slightly different circumstances. What they've done in Massachusetts, and a lot of people are talking about, is mandating everyone to have health insurance like you do auto insurance. And then they're trying to provide subsidies to those businesses that don't have it, and it's yet to be seen whether they'll be able to afford it. I think the solution to universal health care is in Washington, not in the states. I think we need to make every effort to get as many people insured as possible. That's why we have been very aggressive in how we've gone out and searched for children who are left out. We have focused on children, seniors, and those that are disabled as the people who we have some financial capacity to be able to deal with. And we've emphasized that. The idea that we're backing away from insuring children is unconscionable. And given the bipartisan and overwhelming majorities in Congress, just doesn't happen to be 2/3 in one of the houses, to deal with an issue of how we insure moderate income or poor children is it's just flat out wrong. And I've been very outspoken on this in Washington, the National Governors Association, and I'm going to continue to. And frankly, it is one of the great disappointments since I've been in public life that we couldn't muster a group of people to deal with an issue like children's health in a way that's responsible, fiscally and otherwise. And I say fiscally because when kids don't have health insurance, they just go into the emergency room, and then the public has to pay for it anyway, and it's the most expensive place in the world to provide health care. And I'm baffled by the whole debate, the unconscionable actions of those narrow few that have resisted moving forward with S-chip, family care in New Jersey, children's health insurance.
Well, I definitely agree it's unconscionable, Governor, but what are we going to do? I mean,
Well, if I were back in the United States Senate, I'd put the bill back on the president's desk pretty much as it passed, and I'd keep doing that right up to the election of November of '08, and see whether you don't get a change in attitude of senators and congressmen voting against children's health insurance as they have to face voters. Right now they're a year away, and maybe they think they can duck and dive and avoid the consequences. But I don't think a lot of those folks are going to want to hold to that position as they get closer to an election.
we're almost done here, but I'm wondering if you think that civil unions are actually working out in New Jersey.
The answer is yes, they're working out in the sense that people have rights that they did not previously had, and they're being treated equally under the law. Whether there is a sense of full recognition of their human connection with their partners, I think is a fair question. But the bigger issue with regard to civil unions or marriage rights is actually a federal issue. And I've said very clearly that certainly I support civil unions, and I would be prepared to sign marriage equality legislation. But one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want New Jersey to be the basis of giving us a turnback in the rights of individuals because we become a cause célèbre in the debate about marriage rights. And I would like us to take this issue up about what's right for New Jersey in 2009 when I'm running for election but not in 2008, and then have the right-wing world decide that this is going to be the issue, not the war in Iraq, not children's health care, not the civil rights of people who are being abused on a whole host of things, genocide to hate crimes to hate crimes on people's choice and views on how they live their lives. I'm a pragmatist on this issue as it stands as we go to 2008.
I'm sure that the gay people would just be a little bit concerned, like what would happen after you're not governor anymore, and maybe somebody not as open-minded as you who wasn't willing to write these letters to UPS and that sort of thing.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair concern. I would like to push on this, but I saw our president, George Bush, as soon as we passed the civil unions law, go into campaign mode all over the country in those places where the debate went from Iraq and healthcare to an issue that I don't think government really has any business being involved in, and used it as a wedge to divide the country. And what I don't want to do is see another 5,000 kids or 4,000 young men and women killed, and God knows how many Iraqis, because somebody uses a wedge issue, which I believe New Jersey will be able to address at a time frame when it doesn't allow for that kind of usage. This fight needs to be taken up in Washington in the long term. DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act, is a much bigger problem for individuals here in New Jersey than is whether you call it civil unions or you call it marriage. I mean, we're protecting the rights under state law, but DOMA restricts those rights in an incredible way, and I think we ought to change that law.
I just want to ask a question from one of our readers, which we picked because it's sort of right up your alley. You went to a lot of trouble announcing your crime initiatives, the rollout a couple weeks ago. You underscored that it was really important to fight recidivism, and yet in our $1.3 billion corrections budget, apparently only about 1.5 percentage points is dedicated to the vocational programs, which you were really excited about during the rollout. And I'm wondering if, I mean, it wouldn't be like corrections needed more money if they would just divert it differently. Is that realistic?
Well, I think that the whole anti-crime plan is being financed by reallocations of resources within the state budget, which unfortunately is going to have to be the case on almost every initiative we take up, because we don't have the financing capacity, given whether it's $1, $2, or $3 billion budget deficit next year. We are going to have to live on a tighter budget than what we have before. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be reallocating resources within the expenditures we have. And I think the point I was trying to make is that 1.5% spent on vocational education is ridiculous. And the amount of money, I think it's actually about 5% of the budget spent on education broadly written. And I'm not sure of the quality of that to start with. And we need to truly revamp what our priorities are. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to recycle people at $35,000 a year when we ought to be using whatever those extra resources are to give them the skills if they're actually going to go back into their communities and into a civil lifestyle.
Well, Governor, I know we've got some history to make with our Stem Cell Institute groundbreaking in just a couple minutes. I want to thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. It's good. Nice to talk to you.